All right. Just me and Trey. Trey, we are live. We do not have Dwight and we do not have Craig. Dwight is at the All In Summit, learning how to redeem his title of the #1 dental moderator in the world. From he's spending lots of time with Jason Calacanis.
It's the second time.
Yeah, second time, right?
2 in a row. Yeah.
There must be some free comp tickets going on or something. I don't know. And Craig is on another European adventure. You know, one day I want to come back.
Craig's too busy.
I want to come back as my dog or Craig in my next life, which I can't decide which one. My dog's got a pretty cool life too. You and I are going to talk about how to be better than 99% of our competition, because we are in competition, I have you believe. Even though we do love our dental colleagues, right? We always say, oh, we're not in competition. At the end of the day, let's be honest. We're competing against our marketing.
We want to win.
Exactly. You know, look, we can hold hands and go to study clubs together, but I want to beat your ass, right?
Yeah.
So it's marketing, it's social, it's your reputation management. It's, do you have a nicer building than me? What size is your practice? How do you rank better than me in SEO, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we are in competition because there's limited cases. There's limited inflow from this inbound of available butts and seats. So make no mistake about it. We love each other, but I don't want to beat that ass. All right. So we are going to go through some of Cody's things, and you've watched this video. I've watched this video twice. And yes, we're going to kind of regurgitate some of this, but we're going to put our dental spin on it, because concepts in general business are definitely applicable to dentistry. I know we think that we live in a lane where you wouldn't understand. You're not a dentist. You wouldn't understand. You don't have a practice like I do. You don't understand. And, you know, the more and more I get exposed to people in different genres of business, Trey, the more I see commonalities in things. It's different widgets, right? And I'm not trying to dumb it down or distill it, but it is, right? Business is business. People are people. At the end of the day, yes, we're providing a service, you know, but it's still, you know, there's still so many similarities. So this will be fun. This will be fun. All right. Without further ado, I've said that like multiple times. Without further ado, I'm going to play number one.
Afraid of outgrowing everyone.
Rule number one.
Your friends? Yep. Your family? Likely. The people that you hire today who you think are great? Probably. Every single person. And the only way you're going to get through this is by not apologizing for a second for outgrowing people who cannot keep up with you. Hard.
Okay. Trey, what do you think about that?
I think it is paramount if you want to build big. So I think she's a little draconian in a lot of the stuff she does.
Of course.
But I think that's more for effect. The theory is absolutely correct.
Clickbait.
When you set out to achieve something big, and by big, it doesn't have to be, you know, just this astronomically large venture. It just has to be bigger than everyone else. You're going to push past all those around you. And
you know, two things come to mind when I hear her say that is like, I agree to a certain point. I also say this line a lot, like, build for the practice you want, not for the one you have potentially, right? So if you have big aspirations, maybe that's going to need a different hire, right? So you're kind of just always planning on I'm good now, but what am I going to need 5 steps from now, or 3 steps from now, or 2 locations from now? And the other thing I think about with that, Trey, is kind of what got me here won't get me there, right? Yep. Because either it's a different skill set, or if it's different employees, or if it's a different office manager, or if it's different technology, right? But like, it's incumbent upon us to be continually thinking about innovation in our practice. And it's okay to outgrow people and employees and friends. I mean, if that ever happened with you, have you ever kind of outgrown friends?
For sure.
Yeah.
One of the things, the way I kind of view this, and I use an analogy when I talk to people in my organization as well as friends about this. And I think of things in let's call it a 3 phases type of life cycle, we'll say. You have acceleration, which is getting off zero. You have momentum, which is now we're cooking, now we're going, and then it's velocity. And once you have that infrastructure built, you got the momentum. Now it's how fast can we go? And when I look at this, what I kind of mentioned within our old leadership team or our management company, it becomes, hey, we're building a fucking rocket ship, and it's off the ground. It's already built, and all it's doing is gaining speed. So sometimes it's going to go too fast for you, and that's okay. You got to get off.
Yeah. So, I feel like that goes into where B people will start or B or C people will maybe identify they are as such, and maybe they shouldn't, they will self deselect from your rocket
Correct.
ship, right? Which feels painful at the time, meaning when they give their resignation. But sometimes it's divine interventions, and it's happening for you, not to you. It's hard though in the moment, man. It's hard to identify those silver linings that happen because you at the time it happens, you feel victimized. You feel like the victim, rather.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I would mention that we actually had this conversation yesterday. I brought in a speaker to talk to our leadership team, and this kind of caught up or was brought up, and then gets you through the old argument of hire A+ players. A's attract A's, B's attract C's. But the end game of it really is you would rather have a bunch of A players sitting around doing nothing with time to kill because they're going to drive forward with you. They're on a seat, they're on the rocket ship, and they're going, hey, let's get this going, as opposed to a bunch of B people maxed out at capacity, because they're the ones you're going to just leave behind. They're not going to be able to hold on.
Yeah. And I think this is the beauty of a group or a mastermind. I'm not talking about Bulletproof mastermind, but I think that people join thinking that like, oh, Greg and Pete will have the answers. They get me the next level. And sometimes, and a lot of times it's not really us. It's the collaborative of people of sharing and inducing and accountable. And it's that series of, you connect a bunch of 12-volt batteries together. It gets like just continually stronger. And so I always encourage everyone, and it seems self-fulfilling to me to say, oh, join a mastermind, but really, in honest and true, join something, and probably not your local study club, because going back to the thing I opened with, the competition, like do this case and they'll help you here, but like, that's probably where it'll stop, right? It's not, hey, let me show you this marketing hack that worked, 10x for me. They're not going to do that for you like a mastermind would, or someone in a different geographic area would. Okay. Number 2, Trey. I'm going to go to rule number 2.
You have to shed some skin.
Rule number 2.
I always think about the snake metaphor, right? So if you
Rule number 2 is big goals require shedding old skin, she said. So I'll hit replay.
ever seen those ridiculous looking boa constrictors that are so big it almost seems unreasonable? If they were to hold on to the person that they were before, they would never get to that size. They'd be a cute little garden snake, run around. And instead, these fuckers are eating alligators or something in Florida. I don't know. You people live different down in Florida. Now, the reason that I bring up billionaires.
Yeah, so maybe not as powerful as I thought that would be for number 2, but you get where I'm going with this.
You got to grow too.
You got to grow, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the most dangerous thing, and I actually just had a conversation with the dentist, and he was saying like, oh, you know what? Dentistry's so easy and blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking, man, in my head, I was like, thinking, and I'm watching him talk, and I'm thinking in my head, like, I feel sorry for you, because like thinking that you got it all figured out means that like, I don't know, man.
You hit your ceiling.
You hit your ceiling, or like you're smelling your own whatever. You're in your own echo chamber. People are telling you how great you are, right? And you either haven't gotten out enough to realize, look, what you know is what you don't know what you don't know kind of thing yet. And so that's where conferences and online study and just watching YouTube or whatever it is, like exposes you to be like, holy shit, I don't really know. And so, yeah, I think the shedding of the skin, does a snake, and I'm asking this question, does a snake ever stop shedding its skin? I don't know. Does it do that right before it dies? Like not shed anymore? And if so, is that the metaphor for us? Like the second we think we don't need to shed anymore, like that's a wrap?
Let's go with it. I like it.
Yeah, okay.
It never stops.
Yeah, and
if you build yourself, and no, it shouldn't. You're right, because you're building habits. And when you really start to think of, I'm really much in this point in my growth, in my trajectory of building my business, me as an individual, as a person, as an entity, I have to up level everything in my life. My habits have to get dialed in. Everything has to be on point for me to be able to run through the schedule that I got to run through, and still keep the extra time frame to do all the other cool shit I want to do outside of that business frame. So the way I heard this, and this might have been from Atomic Habits. I don't remember where I heard this, but I love the way this was, is whatever the next, picture the next version of you and get there as fast as possible. Become that person as fast as possible.
See, when I hear that, I get anxiety because I'm like, what? I don't even know what that looks like, right? It gives me, that stresses me out.
That's unique to you though, because you're that person viewing the next and the next and the next and the next, but dial it down to one step above where you are, you plus one. Take a habit. Let's say you couldn't sleep. We've all been there, and you've hacked it, and now I've hacked it, and now it becomes what do you do? Well, I'm dialing it in, looking at what are the cheat codes, how do I do it? All I need to do is up the sleep just by a little bit, but that takes you to the next version of you. And that's one example.
You're talking about the actual sleeping right now? Making sure we're not metaphorically speaking anymore.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. The actual sleep.
Yes, I have I've definitely mastered sleep, whereas before I was terrible. I had put science and intention behind it. You're right, Trey. So that's a pretty good example, actually.
That's a +1. That's all.
Man. I'm my first thing I do in the morning is I check my sleep score. Just like I've gamified it to the point where I'm like, I don't even know if I feel good anymore until I look at my score, and then I'm like, that's a good score. I feel great today. But look at you in this form, in this version of your life, right? Like, you probably, I'm guessing, you can't wait to get out of bed in the morning.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. It's almost like you wake up without an alarm clock and you're like, okay, stay in bed. And like, when you have that pull, that gravitational pull, you're on an authentic vision, right? Your mission is serving not only you, but other people and maybe your family. And it's just awesome. And guess what, Trey? That probably won't last forever for you. Right?
No, it cycles. Cycles.
It cycles. And that my hope is that it lasts well into your 70s, right? And that something else then gravitationally pulls. But if you don't have the I can't wait feeling, then maybe it's time for you to shed some skin.
Yeah.
Who knows?
There.
All right. Let me go to number 3.
You have to shed some skin.
Oh my gosh, what a mess up. What a rookie mistake. I wish Dwight was here to crush me right now.
The dental moderator's gone.
God, here we go. Golly, such rookie.
Which is so many haters, they form a support group.
Rule number 3, how do you know you're winning? You have so many haters, they need a support group.
It's like We Hate You Incorporated. They got t-shirts, they got hats, they got merch drops. Because the problem with scale, the average person, do you know what the average person makes as an increase in their salary each year? Average person in the US. What do you want to guess? 3 to 4%. You're exactly right. So what does that mean? Well, these numbers here don't know a 4%. In order to do this, you have to hit numbers so big, average is in your rearview mirror. And so, of course, you're going to have haters. Why? Because those who only hit 4% do not understand 400%. And when we don't.
You're probably in this cycle right now, Trey, because you have growth. I'm hearing you give me feedback on, I got just purchased this practice, got another one into LOI, building this, doing that, right? And anyone who's casually observing Trey in Texas is like, oh, he's probably not doing it right. Like he can't be doing quality work or he must be funded by private equity or something. I don't know. But, I think it's good. And that you have to be comfortable with arrows being shot at you, even as uncomfortable as that is. It never feels good. As a matter of fact, I'm like thinking about like celebrities. It's the reason like they don't go online and like look at what things are said about them as critics, because everyone's got something to say about their success, right? Oh, they're a terrible actor. They slept their way to the top or what, I don't know. But you look at all these trolls that say stuff and in real life, there are trolls that say stuff about you. And I feel like, and I think Craig says this pretty good too. He says that, a lot of times this is people saying stuff because your success has somehow exposed them. right?
Correct.
Right. As a, hey, we had the same chances to do something. So
the other way to look at that too is the person throwing the stone that's a dishonest compliment to themselves. So now it builds them up by tearing you down. I do it the right way, and I'm doing it with whatever honor, integrity, whatever they feel like. I do good work. They must not do good work.
right.
And that becomes a crutch. That one builds a ceiling. So now you built your own box, and now you can't get out of it. But funny enough, they all come around. Outside of people that truly hate you, that might be a little bit different. But
yeah, but outside of like giving someone a true reason, like if you killed their dog or something, like how does someone really hate you, right? Unless you're just a hack job and you're literally being an unethical dentist or whatever. But like, yeah, people can talk shit, but ultimately, like you said, when they see you at dinner or in a study club or a conference, it's like, hey, Trey, right? It's that. And like I'm okay with that. I think there's a healthy balance of like, look, if you want everyone to like you, go sell freaking ice cream, because on your come up, you are going to create enemies, whether or not they're enemies or not, and you got to be okay with that. And look, not everyone is built for that. Not everyone is built for that. If you look at these culture index, right, these people who are low or highly emotional about things, like they just want everyone to like them. It's really important that you like me.
Stings. You gotta develop the thick skin. And the further down this path you go, I will say the skin gets thicker. You develop it for sure.
All right, let's keep going. Number 4.
Okay, now rule number 4. The truth may set you free, but first it'll make you miserable. This is my pep talk for you guys. How am I doing? Is everybody like, yeah, Okay, so can I go on a little bit of a rant here? You're like, what has the last 20 minutes been, if not a rant? All right, here's the rant. I was talking to one of our portfolio companies. So we have all these CEOs, right? They report up to me. And the CEOs always say there is one reason why their company isn't growing. What do you guys think it is? Leads. Somebody said it right here. Well, if we only had more attention, leads, money, we'd be growing. If we had more sales, we'd be growing. Let me tell you why this is such an amateur reaction. Pros realize one thing that amateurs don't. You never have a lead problem. You have a product problem. This part is where I'm going to go a little hard at you guys, and I had to go hard at me. I have many companies that have a product problem and not a lead problem. Here's the difference. Most businesses today do not. Okay, now rule number 4.
So this is a good one, Trey, because
prevalent in dentistry.
Oh my God,
everywhere,
right? So everywhere. I think this was like the reason when I listened to this, I rewinded it, listened to it again. And I was like, this is dentistry. This is dentistry. And we need to talk about this on the pod, but I feel like we need to, go through those other first examples first, just to give so completeness to it. All right. So leads versus product. So I'm going to break it down. New patients versus your experience or the product in which you deliver. That would be the dental Cody Sanchez would say that. So how many people do you know that would say, man, if we just had, we were getting 40 new patients, if we had 60, everything would be fixed. Mm-hmm. Right? That's
the saving grace. That's
the saving grace. In the absence of being exceptional, more at-bats will not expose you as much, right? You'll have more opportunities to, oh, that one worked, that one didn't, that one worked, that one didn't. Same works with phone calls. The more phone calls you have, the more phone calls you can miss. Mm-hmm. And, that was a pain point for me, I think I talked about it on the pod.
You can take this one down into the weeds too with dentistry, because this strikes home where everyone is. Well, I have sensitivity. I can't stop having sensitivity. It's the composite. It's the bond. It's this. Blame your shit. Because no musician sits down and blames his gear that his song sucks. Oh, I might say that they do, but the idea is it's never your gear. It's never your stuff. It's never your composite. It's always you. It's always your system. It's always it's an excuse. Everything's an excuse. And one of the things I make a big deal of in my group is especially when I'm talking to docs, because they're notorious for it. It's, well, how do you do this? And why are you getting this result, or that guy's getting this result and I'm getting this result? And the answer is what nobody wants to hear. And this is the miserable part of her comment. The answer and how I present it is, I can tell you the answer and it's very obvious. However, you're not going to like it. The problem is you're not that good, and you're not that good. You're not good enough to do that. So you need to get better. And nobody wants to hear that. Everyone's patient experience is awesome. Everybody nails
everyone's
the new
phone
patient.
calls are 100%. Everyone's enrollment is huge, right? Oh no, we don't have a marketing problem. We maybe have a marketing problem because all we need is more leads, right? That's why we're not doing well. We need more leads. And then you look at practices, Trey, that have been around, not dissimilar to like yours and Craig's group, right? You guys are multi-generational dentists. You probably have, I don't know how many actives you have, actives, inactives, whatever it may be. You have a repository of a lot larger than me, probably even. I don't know. But so we think about, we want new, but like we forget that the people most willing to refer, the people most willing to say yes to treatment are the ones that are either in our ecosystem now or in our office right now, or have left because they weren't reminded to come back for the value they received. Right? I mean by that, we didn't create a valuable enough experience for them to be like, hey, you know what? I miss that dentist. I need to get my cleaning because it was so memorable, versus I'll just stop along the street and, it's like the oil change kind of place, right? It's like going to your dealership or just stopping at the Jiffy Lube. If you can't tell the difference, then what does it matter? Right? But if your dealership, and this is probably a little far-fetched metaphor, I didn't plan this one out, but right. But in the absence of like a good experience, you're like, sure, I'll take the Jiffy Lube. And so in dentistry, it's the same thing. If you don't have something memorable, then anything will do. I'll just go to the next person on my plan. I don't even know my dentist's name. Like I have so many people that I talk to, they're like, yeah, my dentist, I can't remember his name. I know my hygienist's name, but I don't know his name. I'm like, well, I can't help you there. Yeah. So anyway, leads versus products. I think that's just fascinating because there's so much opportunity. A lot of times we don't need more leads. We just need to do better with what we have.
Correct.
Right. Asking for referrals, asking for reviews. We talk about the 3 R's in my practice, and I send videos out to my team constantly. And it's not lost on me that there's a lot to do at the end of the appointment. I get it, but I wouldn't really require these 3 R's. I say this over and over to people if I didn't do it myself when I was clinical. I would make sure they were reappointed. What are we doing next? Hey, Jacqueline, what are we doing next with Karen here? Okay, we don't have an appointment set up. Oh, let's get that set up, right? Karen, hope you had an awesome experience today. You're going to get a link tonight. It's going to talk about maybe your review. If you haven't left one before, I would personally really appreciate that because people need to hear. And then 3, like if you have any family and friends, we are accepting new patients, of course, and we'd love to have you talk our praises to your family and friends. That's simple. Right. And that people think that that's awkward. And why would you do that? And it looks like you're groveling. And at the end of the day, I didn't care. And like did that feel weird to you? Me just saying that?
That's what I was about to point out. It feels weird until you do it. And then you practice it.
Exactly. And Trey, it felt weird so many times in my career until I practiced it and listened to myself. And I was like, that was cringe. Why did I pause there? I should have said this. Why did I do that? But guess what? That was my at bat. And I swung and missed and swung and missed and swung and missed. And finally I figured to raise my elbow up, and look at the ball a little easier. Right. And I started making contact and I was like, I don't know where I'm going with these metaphors today. I apologize, everybody. But
and the snake was at bat, and it was fantastic.
The snake was there, and he was trying to eat. He was eating a cupcake, and he was going to Jiffy Lube, and who knows? And there he was. So the 3 R's again: reappoint, ask for referrals, and ask for reviews. And I think if you can get your team to do those, it will categorically change where you are 12 months from now. Categorically.
100%. I fully agree with that.
And the way to frame this with your team, and I don't know if you do this, Trey, is that, look, this isn't just me like saying, from my ivory tower, do the 3 R's, right? It's me saying, I frame it to my team as like, hey, we all want to hit bonus, right? Because when you win, the business wins, all these things. And so a good way to make sure we have good month after month after month is set the fertile ground for 2 months from now, today. Right. So what we do today, where are we in? We are September 10th. What you do today will be yielding fruits potentially in November, right? Maybe mid-October, right? But it's not what you do today. So it's, yes, get focused on the experience, be where your feet are today, but also lay the seed for the heavy lifting for things that you need in the future. And so many times I see this fire drill of people like, oh, we're having a shitty month, or have, people will call me and say, what do I do? I'm having a shitty month. And sometimes there's not much you can do other than just plant your seed, take it on the chin, right? Have a negative P&L for that month and move on down the road and learn from your scar and don't let that happen again. And not that that's going to make you bulletproof from all future down months, but all you can do is all you can do, right? You do your best and you screw the rest. It's a famous saying, but my mom used to say that all the time. And so, and it's not complex. For instance, I did this podcast, Trey, recently, to a non-dental pod. I was a guest. This guy, he's on Twitter. His name is Sieva. He's a private equity guy. So it was again, non-dental podcast. He has about a big following. He has like 100,000 followers on Twitter. And we were talking about how I was giving him a story about dentistry. His dad was an oral surgeon. I really loved the pod. I'll probably repost it because I was like, that was one of my favorite pods, including my own. But we were talking about how business is very similar, right? And we like to make it unique and different, given dentistry. And I don't know where I was going with that actually now, but basically I was saying to him that we as dentists we get challenged a lot, right, Trey? We get challenged in our environment. We get challenged. I don't know, again, I'm kind of, I have so many things. You ever get to that place where you have so many things to say?
No, your hamster's running.
It's like there's like 12 things that I want to talk about right now. And I'm like, focus. And I don't have
99%. Let's beat 99%.
And you're such a great listener. You're listening to me versus Craig will go off on these like rabbit holes and it'll buy me time to like be like, I knew what I was going to say.
I got this. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the problem is if I jump in, I'm going to do the same thing you're doing. And then it's just the same. It's a downward spiral.
All right. Number 5.
Component of it. All right. Rule number 5. Your bank account is a reflection of how good you are. Ooh, that one hurts. Especially because I think all of us realize that we want more in the bank account. But the second that I realized this is the second my bank account started to grow. And let me tell you why. I had this CEO at one of my companies. And he had the ultimate flaw that is the cancer of our society today, which is that he doesn't think that he has to earn. He thinks he deserves the right to earn. And so we had a goal. And I said, hey, I don't know, Bob, if you hit this goal, you're going to get a $100,000 bonus. Cool. Quarterly goal, hit the 100K, hit the bonus, get 100K. Awesome. Well, comes around, Bob's excited. We sit down for the meeting. He goes, hey, here's the goal. We're only off by about 5%. How fucking awesome is that? And I was like, did I say a hope or a goal? I know they're both 4 letters. I'm pretty sure that they're spelled differently. And he expected to get the 100K without missing the 5%. This is the world we live in today, where we think that we are playing a game of horseshoes and hand grenades, which means the close is good enough.
Okay, so I really wanted to stop on the horseshoes and hand grenades, right?
Yeah, almost doesn't count.
I'm not sure if the bank account is a reflection of how good you are. I mean, again, you're like you said, she's being a little bombastic with her commentary. Sure. And that's because she has to be in order to get people either angry or like, yeah, hell yeah, girl. Right. And that's how you get followers. But look, maybe it is a reflection. Maybe it's the scoreboard, right? Maybe it's an indicator. Maybe it's your own KPI of how well all the things you've been doing. But horseshoes and hand grenades is a funny thing. Oh yeah. So
all
we
this
have that
is game theory when you talk about metrics, and nobody wants to talk about money as a metric because it's suddenly taboo. But money is when you look at a P&L, how efficient you are in the operation of your business, of any given business, presents itself in your net operating income or your net ordinary income. That shows you the efficiency at which you are running that business. And for most, that is paper money at first. You have to have, it includes after below the line costs, the depreciation, amortization, you have debt service, you have all these capital expenses, all those are below the line costs. Mm-hmm. But none of those, arguably, are true efficient markers of how you're running your business in the operation piece, in which case that NOI will eventually become real money, but it is a scorecard. So and the game theory suggests you have to have a scorecard.
Well, it is kind of like we talk about the entrepreneurial profit, right? When you're looking at your practice as a whole, right? Like people conflate their cost of labor, right? Their free cost of labor. If you're a solo provider or you're a solo dentist, you're conflating your own free labor, quote unquote, with me being like, hey, my margins are 45% or 40%. I make 40% on the dollar. It's like, well, maybe not. Like if you were replaced, right? If your cost of labor was replaced, what would you then make? So I think you're right. I think it's an interesting thing that eventually P&Ls catch up, and eventually there, things have to land in an account, and that's a good idea. Where I was going with that too is from a team perspective, is horseshoes and hand grenades. And there's been so many times, Trey, that I'm a big fan of setting incentive, right? You talk about, I think it was Charlie Munger or one of those old guys that said, you show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. I think it was Munger, now that I think of it. And so like, I'm a big fan of like random bonuses and some that stay in perpetuity, but like, I'm a big fan of incentives. A lot of times we will have these goals. So for instance, we had this big beach goal every year, and it was a yearly goal, and we still have it, right? And it's basically the tier 5. We have 5 tiers in our bonus system. And essentially the beach goal is if we would hit the average of those tier 5s times 12. Make sense?
Over a 12-month period. Yes.
Yeah. So like basically it'd be like, you essentially, you had some months you just crushed it even beyond tier 5, and one month you had tier 4, but the blended average was about where the number would be from a tier 5 perspective, right? If it was $10 million, right? And you have to hit 833,000 per month kind of thing on an average. So I'm a big fan of setting things like that. So we got to a year one time where we were, I think it was within $20,000 ending the year, right? And I remember people looked at me and I was like, man, that was awesome. Look how close we got. Like, where are we going to go? And I was like, this is very, unfortunately I didn't say this is binary, but like, this is very binary. Like it's either a success or it's a fail. And unfortunately, I hate to like Merry Christmas, but like it's a fail. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to hit it unless something happens. And so lo and behold, it was a womp, womp, womp. Lo and behold, one of my employees went and got on the phone and convinced a patient to do a prepay for a case. Nice. That was a giant case. And she saved Christmas kind of thing. And I was like, all right, well, look,
gotta respect
as long as they do the treatment and they're not asking for a refund in the next 3 months, because usually these trips are by 10 months out kind of thing. As long as that treatment goes through, then yes.
I had a similar story only on a monthly goal. And this was years ago. I don't remember what the actual goal was, but it was big enough to matter. Mm-hmm. And they were short by a few $100. Now, we're talking right up to the line, mm-hmm. but it's still binary. It's black and white. It's yes or no, all or nothing. And they thought about it, bitched about it, and then went and bought an entire case of Paradex between all of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet they all pitched in. I bet they all pitched in.
But hey, creativity, I'll go with that.
And you gotta love that, right? Because it's just like the hustle. So
exactly,
I think it programs your team. So right now, I'll give you kind of a family analogy, because it's in my realm of experience right now. I'm doing cold plunging and saunaing and stuff like that at home, and so my kids, like they watch you and they want to partake. And so like my son is 9 years old and he's starting to do it now, right? And he's like. And at first it was 5 seconds and it's too long, right? And last night he was in there for like 2 minutes. And I was like, bud, you're going to, there's going to be the suck of the cold or the suck of you couldn't do it, but you got to pick one, right?
Well said.
And so he's learning like doing hard things sometimes takes hard things. You have to pick. And so with the team, going back to the dental analogy, the thing is like, you have to sometimes be that person who's like, good enough is not good enough, guys. I'm sorry. I can't be Santa Claus of bonuses and just be like, you tried. Everyone gave it their college try. Let's celebrate, because I think that's like a Pavlovian response that teaches people it's okay to miss, right? It's okay to just get close. And that is a top-down, dangerous psychology, I think. So I'm not trying to tell everyone listening to this to be a boss and be mean to your team. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances, but like, be very clear. And I think on the front end, when I tell people goals now, I'm like, hey, remember, here's the goal, but remember, and I say this on the front end because everything on the front end is an explanation, not an excuse. Remember, a team, if we're short by $1, you don't get this.
We are short.
We are, right? And so
that's clarity. And
it's clarity. And on the front, it's like, don't worry, So that's fun. That's fun with bonuses. All right. I'm going to keep going, Trey. We're working through it. Number 6.
Doesn't start from the top. It slides downhill from the middle. This one was fascinating.
She said, culture doesn't start from the top. It slides down from the middle. And I'll hit play again.
All our life we've been told culture starts at the top, right? Culture starts at the top. The truth of the matter is you have to employ people who are as good as or better than you. Because the problem is your lower level employees are actually looking at them, not you. You're like too far out of their mind as a CEO. They don't look at you and think they should act like you. They look at you and go, yeah, of course you work hard. It's your business. Yeah, so it's not my business. I'm not going to have to work as hard as you. This one, culture doesn't start from the top.
So good. This is so good. So what came up when I played that for you? Agreed?
Fully agreed. Yeah. So the typical mindset when you are the top is that culture starts with you. And it may start with you in terms of intention, if you're intentional. And one thing that we always look at is you can have very good culture on accident, but you're never going to have phenomenal culture by accident. It's going to be intentional. And you may put all that effort in, but it takes very few people to ruin it. And it's exactly what she said. That one person that doesn't want to wash the rental car and is going to voice it, it slides all the way down. That mindset just gets pervasive.
Yeah, I mean, that's like toxicity at the, let's just call it, so mid-level in this example would be like maybe your office manager or team lead or something like that. So it's vital when they talk toxically or subgroup or something like that, that does become, I think to agree that is like the definition of your culture. It gives other people to do the same times 3. And yeah, I mean, that is a toxic trait. And so people that are in that position should know, and we all know, I think, Trey, we all can identify as I'm even going through this example, I'm thinking of all these, my brain again in a hamster is thinking about all these 10 examples of things that happen, why they happen in my own operating environment. But I truly believe that this is a middle out versus like, well, it all falls on me, extreme accountability. I better do everything. Everyone's watching me. And she's probably right. Like a lot of other team members, right? Your assistants and hygienists or whatever, when you're growing. So like Trey, we went to a Braves game this Friday night for my team, my entire team, like all the locations. And it was just, getting efforts together. And it was just a social event to keep locations, some continuity amongst locations. And some people didn't know each other. And we had a lot of new hires. And I gotta say, like, I was meeting a lot of these people for the first time, and I was okay with that because I have strong leadership, either in partners or middle management, that like it's not, everything is not predicated on, hey, did you know me? And for the first time ever, I didn't have shame with that. Right. I used to be like, hey, what's her name? I didn't meet her. I didn't hire her. Like, what is, and I would try and play it off like I was like, look, I don't have the bandwidth to meet you yet. But eventually, if you're here long enough, we'll have plenty of time together, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's inevitable at some point.
Right. But I used to have this weird shame with like, oh, I didn't meet them. So therefore, like, oh my gosh, can you,
that was the old you.
That was me shedding the skin.
You shed that skin.
I did, but I had no choice. And maybe it's just, as you get older, you give less F's. I don't know.
There's part of that too.
You know?
There's part of that too.
And and people are going to form their own opinions, and you can't worry about it. But I think this is important, and I think this is where, for example, I'm going to give Erica, Craig's office manager, and a very good compliment here is that she's kind of, yes, she's probably more top if we're looking at this from pyramid, but middle. She's not middle management. She really kind of runs so much that Craig's is able to go and do. But she's just such a perfect example of like, here's how you act. Here's the way we perform. Here's my positive attitude. Here's your goals, right? Everything is just so buttoned up and so proficient that his culture operates amazing by default, largely because of her and him. Like, he's a very big force, and he's very, he's the dental whisperer. And so, so those two together have made
itself while he's somewhere else.
100%.
That behavior is contagious, both toxicity.
And I would encourage you, if you're listening to this and you have someone who's kind of like the next in charge to you, that has some of these bad traits, and you're struggling with culture, you're struggling with, team morale or enthusiasm, like put that up as an audit of like a chopping block, being like, are you the best person to be doing middle out culture? Middle out, not top down, but middle out. Are you that best person? And hopefully my wish is that everyone says yes to that. But my fear is that there's probably a half of the people listening that are like, shit, you know what? She's just so good at her job. I don't know what roles she does. I don't even know how to do payroll. I can't fire her because I don't know. Right. And going back, this goes full circle to the thing you and I talked about with Training and such, right? Having operational things and systems removes you from that vulnerability of, you don't know how to do it, doc. Screw you kind of thing. You can't fire me. I don't know. I just went on a tangent there again, but any comments?
That's a great thought. That's a great thought, because my name's on the door and I replaced myself, which very quickly arms you with the reality of, wait, if I'm not necessary, nobody's.
Dude, and I think that's such a good, like, ironically, my wife and I were just texting that today, and she was telling her about, what's going on. There's something going on in my environment. She's like, look, everyone's replaceable. And I wrote back, like, just kind of joking. She wrote back, except me. And I wrote back, well, I said, we're all replaceable, including me. At the same time, that crossed. And I was like, oh, that just shows. But I mean, it is true. And Trey, that was probably a goal once upon a time. I know it was Craig's goal. I know it was mine, is that as an entrepreneur, a dental entrepreneur, you should be constantly trying to be the anti-nucleus of everything, right? Try to keep hiring great managers or leaders from an inside out scenario of leading, so that you can then extricate yourself to be the visionary and the innovator and the guy in the teleprompter, right? And the guy who is working on the business, not always in the business. And sometimes, there's a hybrid in between there, right? So many of us lived in that hybrid zone of like the hats. You're in the dentistry, you're in the op, and then you're working on your business, and you're constantly spinning plates and doing all. I get it. It's very, very challenging. But did I just go off on another?
No, you're right on. You're spot on. I like it.
Things like this, man. It's like, I feel so called. I think when I go on walks and listen to a lot of pods, because in motion, I think your brain works so much better. And then I'll hear like something, I've listened to YouTube or books, like, come on, that would be a great pod. That would just be a great pod. I really have all these things to say. And now, like, I didn't write them all down, and I'm probably missing some of the things I wanted to say when I heard this the first time, but we'll keep going.
Yeah. You're stimulating.
All right. Rule number 7.
Top talent, that means you are not top talent.
She said, if you can't find top talent, it means that you are not top talent.
Ooh, tough one. Let's think about this for a second. Does a lion want to work for a gazelle? No, let's eat that bitch. The problem with most leaders is that we go, what? There's no good people anywhere, right? Where are all the hard workers? Can I get a better recruiter? But the first thing we should actually be doing is look in the mirror. And we should be asking ourselves this one question. Am I good enough to attract and lead the lions? And if not, beautiful opportunity. Because what's easier to control? In top.
Man, so I take it back. This was the reason I wanted to talk about this pod. I think it was number 5 that I said before. It's this one.
This is good.
This is good. And this is oh man, this will, only you can say if this stings or not, right? When you hear this. But if you are not, if you are not top talent, if you can't recruit top talent, then potentially you are not top talent. And so this is why, can I go over kind of this from where I see it? This is why I push so hard on marketing and video and good websites. It's not for the sole purpose of marketing, right? Of getting new patients, but people are attracted regardless if you're a consumer or a new patient or you're seeking a job, right? So that, that outing we did at the Braves game or the beach trip or the office environment or the clean sterilization, like all of these things are positives for a potential thoroughbred, a lion to come and work for another lion. I can't be a gazelle and expect that I'm going to aggregate a bunch of thoroughbreds or lions in my practice, right? And so what does that mean? If you're like, shit, maybe I'm a gazelle. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know how to fix that, but I think you can learn through what I just said, right? Like you can present as, look how great this would be to be here, right? Let me attract this top talent by either, like I said, incentives or experiences.
Yeah. All of the above is
yeah.
So we operate the exact same way. And my mindset is 100% that. Be something that, and it's one of those, as I interviewed dentists, recently, I talked to him and I kind of joke, and I'm biased. Obviously, there's nothing like working for us that doesn't exist. But then I kind of take it down off the funny joke level and bring it down. But really, there isn't. It's you get all the things you're talking about. We do this. We do this. We build around these people. Here's a community of dentists that work together. It's all these things that now take that lion and go, hey, you want to be part of this pride. And
what I hear you say, and I know you're not saying this, but you're not saying, hey, all of this, meaning it's not all these benefits, meaning, oh, you'll get health, you get 401, you'll get this. That's not what you're saying. Maybe that is a component, right? Right. That is a small component, but it's like there's the people who work here are happy here. Imagine that. We don't throw instruments at our employees, right? Or our assistants. Like we don't talk disparaging, you spend more time away from your home. You spend more time at your office than you do typically your good hours at home. So like, that's never been lost on me. And, I always want to create an environment where, happy people are serving kind of happy people. I haven't always been successful in that. Sometimes it's really hard to keep everyone happy. And there's been times when I've been not so proud of the culture maybe that I had, or, but I've always been proud of the effort, like just, oh, that didn't work. Shit,
Well, and you can't be perfect, and everything operates in a cycle. So let's talk about a small team. Let's say you had a team of 5 and it's phenomenal. Super team. Everybody's diving for the ball, rowing in the same direction. It's great. Well, then somebody gets married, has a kid, decides not to come back to work.
And this goes
20% of your team's gone.
I talk about this too. And these are pertinent examples about attracting like top talent, lion and gazelle. But I talk about this on like when people ask like, hey, can I get a copy of your job description? Right. I sometimes look at that like an office manual thing. Like, yeah, you can. It might not resonate. Right. So like in a C, and I was just giving this advice today. I was talking about marketing with a masterminder. He and I were texting and I was like, look, your job. And he was like, I want to go from 45 to 80 new patients. And I was like, that's great. But your job is to identify where your red ocean is, right? Where is every dentist kind of biting each other and creating blood in the water? And then get out of that and look for some blue ocean opportunities where it's clear and you can sail and you can see your feet in the water, right? And it's not crowded. And your place is to get the next tranche of new patients is probably not in that same red ocean. So the same thing kind of applies with team. If you don't do something on your Indeed or your dental post or whatever that creates a blue ocean attractant, right? If it's just a sea of cut and paste, same bullshit dental assistant ad copy, then how are you going to expect a different result? Right. And so maybe it doesn't stop there, Trey. I think then when someone's doing their diligence, no different than when a patient is doing their diligence to join your practice, they're going to look and say, all right, cool, that ad, okay, that pay attracted me. Let me Google them and find the reviews, right? Let me Google them and see what it says about their website, right? Let me see a picture of the team. Let me go to their social media. So the same diligence, that's what I was trying to press upon people. The same diligence that happens with your patients is happening with prospective dental offices. And sometimes you can attract people who aren't even looking, meaning that they're pleasantly happy in the office down the street. But man, they keep getting this something in their feed about this practice or these life-changing smiles or this something's happening. It's like, oh my God, are they tracking me? And eventually it wears you down. And you're like, man, what would it be like? Well, I was happy before I saw this. And now I'm like, maybe I should go work there.
Lets you know there's another level. One way we always talk about that is you own the dinner table. Do things that make people go home and talk about it at dinner. And if you can own the dinner table and think of that as just the metaphor of owning the dinner table, that is now a
oh wait, so you're saying to your team, own the dinner table, meaning the experience that we give patients today. You're talking about patients?
Yeah, I'm talking about both.
Both.
Because then you go home and you know the person, you know, let's say mid-level manager working for you goes home and starts talking about they're going to Turks and Caicos because we hit a goal and this is what we're doing and I want to do that, and they're having, let's say they're out having a glass of wine and dinner with some friends who happen to also be office managers or happen to be a hygienist or whoever. And when you own the dinner table and you do things that are worthy of being talked about, it's the same concept of what you're talking about in a digital environment where it just gets pinged on social or wherever. And they keep getting this, wow, maybe there's something better out there. Maybe I need to check that out because, man, she's talking about it in a way that I have never talked about in my job. And I'm happy. Or so I thought.
Do you know why most people quit their jobs, Trey, in dentistry? I did a lot of study on this because this is another field software project, but I studied this a lot. Do you know why? What would you guess that most people would leave their job?
I would say probably lack of recognition.
Yeah. Well, that is
appreciation. Lack of
that
appreciation.
is part of it. Yeah. That is one that is lower on the list. It's inadequate training.
Interesting.
And unknown successes, meaning like what's a success and what's a failure, meaning the touchdowns have never been clearly delineated for said person.
Lack of clarity.
Right. And so thoroughbreds cannot live in that environment because they're like, I can't stay here because I don't know, even they don't know. So how are we going to know? Right. So that clarity attracts the lions, not the gazelles kind of thing. It's so true. So again, brain's going off in 20 examples of my own life. All right, we'll do the last example and rule number 8.
Friends from business, not business from friends. This is really important and a little bit of a tweak. When you start winning, you become a target. Donald figured that out this weekend, and I think all of us will figure it out in one way or another. The bigger the more.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the thing about, your colleagues and your friends, right? But so she's really making it from a scarcity thing of like, don't get too big, you'll expose me. So maybe not a pertinent dental example there. I like listening to non-dental content, Trey. When I'm walking, like I said, I like listening to things. I like listening to books and seeing where's the innovation that can happen from that YouTube? Where is the marketing thing that I could take from this Shopify web video and like, and how does that apply to the sales cycle of dentistry or this social media hack, whatever it is. So I like taking little bits of things and even though there's not a direct do this 1 through 4 step for dental business right here, it's making you audit and question. And I think so many times that's where the power, again, talking about either masterminds or groups, is it forces you when you're hearing content and this, like, we talk about the Bulletproof curriculum, right? Yes, we have people that go through it 2 and 3 years because it forces you when you hear it, even though you may know what I'm about to say or Craig's about to say or you're about, whatever it is, it forces you to either reinforce your process of being like, yep, got it, or challenge the way that you're doing it. Is that the best way, or is there something to learn? And so I'm constantly looking at not changing things, not if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing, but like little tweaks, right? That little lever can sometimes take you from good to great.
It's an update.
It's an update. It's a software
the other reason
update.
you go back and revisit is because you are a different you at any given time. Your situation that you are in, your life situation, so to speak, is different. So what you pull out of that same curriculum that you've read, and let's say nothing changed, all the same stuff, you're going to pull things that are more pertinent to you, your life, your business, your marriage, or whatever, your kids, how you parent, that are not, they weren't relevant 6 months ago when you read it or reviewed it. They are relevant now. So now you're pulling those little pearls out of it. Now you're implementing those types of things. And it's why I revisit tons of stuff, and most of my stuff is actually, I'm in the same boat. All my stuff, all my content that I develop, all of it is, or not all of it, most of it is for non-dental.
I think what I was also saying in that podcast too is like, dentistry, we will get fooled into this narrative is that it is so hard, it's so complicated, and it is. Like, there are things. But if you really distill it down, what successful practices do, and I've seen lots of successful practices, right? I've studied them. They don't have these magic bullets that everyone thinks, right? They're doing the same boring things over and over again with exceptional results.
Boring is better.
Right. But they're doing the 3 R's, like I said, they're just doing those. And those are not groundbreaking, exciting, right? Those aren't like the AI tool that helped me do this, that, and the other, right? Or it's not new software I got, or it's not this patient management software, or look at this new cone beam we got. It's doing the same unsexy processes over and over again at scale across your culture. Right. It's expected that you're going to do the 3 R's. It's expected that you are going to ask for this. It's expected that we are going to send reviews within this given time.
It's base hits.
It's the base hits over and over again. And people think it's complicated. I think it's because we'll do them for a certain amount of time and then we'll stop. And then it'll be this, oh my God, recharge, right? And it's like, you think that there's all these magic moments, but if we could just stay doing, hey, here's our consistency level. It's like the reviews, you ever talk to dentists? I mean, this happens in my own practices. It's like, hey, somehow we haven't gotten this like normal cadence of reviews. It's dipped a little bit. So then you rally everybody and all of a sudden you see bing, right back up, right?
Yeah,
for a while. And so like no one's immune to this. And it's your job to make sure you have good systems in place or good managers in place that can deliver that data to you very timely, so you can say, hey, what's going on here? So that you don't have to go hunting and pecking for what happened to our reviews. Like, you should not be going through your process as a dental CEO. You should not be going through your platform being like 1, 2, or your Google My Business 3, that's location 1, right? Everything should be gravitationally pulled to you so that you can then say decision, action kind of thing.
Yep. Go. That's exactly right. We got one thing you passed up in the middle that I think is worth bringing up.
Oh, please.
One of them was assume your competition works harder and is smarter than you are.
I did miss that. That was the one I was trying to place as opposed to the last one with the friends. Right. So rule number X was, say it again, Trey.
Assume your competition works harder and is smarter than you. And I think this is in dentistry, you hear it all the time, which I'm assuming is probably any professional service business is similar. It's, you end up, nobody talks about, let's say we're clinicians. I can do a root canal. You can do a root canal. Okay. We don't talk about how to get better. We talk about, well, you should do it my way. And you say, well, you should do it my way. It's always a, oh, you're not that good. Let me tell you how I do it.
Yeah. Instead of, I don't see the puff at the end of your canal.
Let's learn from each other. Yeah. And then you get the world of, and I'll use us 4 as an example. Surround yourself by people that you can learn from. You talk about mastermind and everything else, but surround yourself by people that you can learn from and people that are much farther along than you, because that's where that brings you up. It's not just a rising tide. It's very much as a rising tide, but it lets you know there's a next level and it opens your eyes to how to get there.
Do you think about this a lot? Like who's coming to eat you, clean your lunch?
I don't ever think about who's coming to clean my lunch.
Yeah.
Because
is that a phrase? Clean your lunch? I don't know.
Yeah, clean my lunch. Clean my plate, eat
clean
my
your
lunch.
plate.
Yeah. Steal my lunch money.
Yeah.
I go with lunch money. Yours too. Yours is good.
Yeah, steal lunch money. There we go. Is anyone coming do you think about people stealing your lunch money, Trey?
I don't, but I because I'm too busy thinking about trying to grow in the direction. I'm not looking behind me. I'm looking forward. So it's not to say it's not out there, but I should be so lucky to have someone come to me and say, hey, I want to beat you. It's like having a son or a daughter. I mean, their success beyond yours would mean the world to you. So yes, awesome. If you can come and catch me and blow past me, let me know how I can help you. I'd love to see it. But good luck, because I work hard and I'm going to put effort in. But the idea there is I'm working forward. I'm looking at who's got 50 locations. What problems do you have? Where can I be in a group that puts me around those people routinely that I can have breakfast with every month? What do I need to learn or know that's coming down the pipe that's going to be a big detractor?
So good. I tell my son, and you'll appreciate this, Trey. I said, look, his name's Brax. I said, Brax, there's only one man on earth who's ever going to want you to do better than him. And his name is Dad, right? Because everyone else is going to want to be a little bit better than you.
They're trying to beat you.
Right?
They're trying to beat you.
You can do good as long as it's not as good as me,
Yeah, that's right.
So
I wish you the best. The best second place there is.
I don't think about, you're right. I don't think about competition. I take that back. I do think about it. I probably think about it more than you, because you're on this like acquisition craziness, right? So you ain't got time to worry about that. But like I have full disclosure, I have like Google alerts set on my competition in their name, right? So if ever there's anything noteworthy from a press perspective that comes out, that like I'd like to be the first to know, so that
you find it. Yeah.
Well, look. The best
That's
defense
legitimate.
is a great offense, right?
There you go. There you go.
And so I like to be the first to know, so that if it's something newsworthy, I'm like, oh shit, how do we counteract this, right? Or even better, I have Google alerts on my own practice name, right? So it's if something is said and all these things.
Well, and mine's a belief system. So it's not so much that what I'm doing is leading it to that. Is I don't believe we actually compete. Now, that being said, I fully am competing, but I'm competing in a healthy way. I'm here to beat you. However,
yeah, morally and ethically, like if it's the gentleman's game or the gentlewoman's game, like that's how you want to win, not by doing.
I want to win.
Shady,
I want to win.
Right.
But I want you to beat me after that, so then I get motivated to go do it again. So we keep driving each other up in a healthy form of competition. But I don't view this as a zero-sum game. One patient in my ecosystem is not out of your ecosystem, because nobody goes to the dentist anyway. So the end game becomes everybody can succeed. You may not want to do it.
I disagree with that. I disagree. I mean,
I know, and you have a different feel on that. Although my joke is awesome. I'm going to come set up a practice next door to you, and I will succeed at the exact same level I succeed, and it won't hurt you, but I will still build exactly the same world. One, because I don't even do the stuff you do. So it's a different world. It's hard. You're never going to get a Google alert for me, because I'm never going to have anything.
Yeah, maybe. On. Yeah, I think there's a healthy dose of scarcity with things like that. And
sure.
You mentioned something, right? Like the competition. You want someone to do a little bit better than you or expose you, so then it gets you like, screw that. It's like the chip on your shoulder. And I think, I've always wanted to do a pod that just talks about the chip, maybe the chip that each one of us got, in a fearsome pod that probably pushed us obsessively to growth. Right. And, I have a pretty funny chip, and I used to think about it when I said I obsessed about this, I couldn't think about anything for 10 years other than this comment.
Oh shit. I'm all ears.
Let's save it for the pod, but like,
okay. Fair.
I was, when you're exhausted and couldn't get up out of bed, it was like you play that quote that someone said to me in my head, and I was like, it was like like a Sparta kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So we'll play that. But I think, and the title of the pod, I wanted to be like, get yourself a chip on your shoulder.
Sure.
Right.
And let me say this: I want to clarify one thing. I want you to do a little better than me to motivate me. But when I say you, I mean you. I mean Craig. I mean Dwight. I mean people that we know that we're friends with.
Not
the
Rando.
Guy I don't know that's
not
over
Rando
here,
Jones.
I'm looking to blow him out of the water. I'm looking to do things that he goes, how the fuck did he do that?
Right.
But when I'm in a close circle of a group that is pushing to improve, I am trying to improve at a level that then has a reciprocation that allows me to play off that competition and better myself.
That's the reason that I think we all share things. I mean, that's actually how that's how the Bulletproof pod actually started was, Craig and I were friends for just a little bit of time before the podcast. And it was, he and I were texting and sharing things because I was able to share like, hey, I made this marketing breakthrough. Right. And and he and I would just start sharing things because he was in Florida and I was in Georgia, and it was like, hey, I'm rooting for you. Like authentically, I want you to absolutely dominate. You know why? Because it takes no pieces of my cupcake. It takes your success does not take Metro Atlanta people.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, I'm really okay with this, and that supports our friendship. And it's like, but it would be very hard to have rooted for him the same way if we had kind of like very similar practices only 5 miles away from each other. It'd be really hard. It'd have been a conflict of interest for me, quite honestly. Right.
Kind of, but that's me and Dwight.
But you guys aren't, you guys cross-pollinate patients?
I'm sure he ends up with some of mine and I end up with some of his.
Really? You're that close? No idea. Like what's the closest?
No, I mean, we're not close, but
like what's the gap of miles?
I would guess maybe 20 in some cases.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in a southwest suburb, more or less.
Okay.
And I'm scattered throughout Metro and then throughout the West. But you're going to have cross-pollination by accident. But we're not seeing, I don't sit back and go, oh, look at all these people coming from
it's not your addressable.
He doesn't do that as mine. But the point being, it's same city. If it's truly zero sum, then we would be more cautious about sharing. Although I do believe, though, what thing you mentioned a long time ago, because we've talked about sharing a lot in this case, but when someone says, hey, can I have your XYZ? Can you have this or this? I don't even like contracts in my world. I have them because my attorneys told me I had to, but we've never had non-competes. We've never had any of that stuff prior to all this. But the end game of it is, if I give you like a contract that I've had that I kind of told the attorney, I was like, take out all the confidentiality stuff. Like there's nothing you can take from me that's going to go and duplicate it elsewhere. Because if I give you my entire system, if I give you my Google Drive and you download it,
right? What
went into that to get it where it is what makes us us, not the document. You can have the documents. I mean, an associate takes, I sold that last practice in Elgin. It's here you go. Here's all my stuff. Copy it and then make it yours.
Hey, we had that recently.
The experience in the red up.
We had that recently with one of my docs. We had someone leave and they left, quickly and under not the best terms recently. And he was like, "Hey, they have the laptop and the this, that, or something." And I was like, "Look, and he was like, "Are we worried about the IP?" And I was like, "Look, no, because that's probably out there. And like, if I've learned anything from Bulletproof and from my own practice and just knowing people now and being, almost 50 years old, is that knowledge is super abundant, right? I didn't invent any process. I don't have IP. I took it from here. I took it from you. I took it from Craig and maybe innovated my own and, whatever. But it's not quote unquote intellectual property.
Right.
The execution of said IP is the hard thing.
That's
right?
the game.
That's the hard thing.
And that's
so
why
I told him, I was like, look, knowledge is easy to get. The execution and finding the right hands that's going to fall into, if they can do it, rock on.
For you.
Rock on. Right. So anyway, bud, good pod. I'm glad you glad you interjected that last.
That was too good to miss. Yeah.
Right. It was. And I don't, in my formatting, I got to say, as trying to run this screen and run this clip and do this and then think of like inspiring content I want to talk about. It was too much for my brain to do today. So I thank you for getting my 6 here.
I'm good for something.
And catching me. I don't know how I missed that clip, but I did. And yeah, man, that's That's the pod. Hope everyone enjoyed it. We'll see y'all
Great
next
fun.
time.
See you guys next time.